Coffee stains and name chains. I am such a loner. San Francisco bases got me slowly taking over. I can't wait to show you that I'm gonna take it over. Lico, beast mode, 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 Lico, beast mode. This is not a main thing, really I'm a coder. Coffee stains and name chains, I am such a loner. San Francisco bases got me slowly taking over. I can't wait to show you that I'm gonna take it over. Lico, beast mode, 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 Lico, beast mode.
We live. Patrick, what's up?
What's up?
Let everyone roll in real quick. We live. Yo, chat, what's up? Rohit, what's up, man? How you doing? Pat, you see the chat?
Loner.
Pat, you can hear me, right?
I can hear you.
Perfect.
Oh, beast mode, Lico, beast mode, Lico, beast mode.
Chat started. Okay, we'll just get straight into this. Let everyone roll in real quick. See who's even up at this point.
Loner.
Yo, I gotta shoot a music video for that.
The music video would be funny as hell. Oh, beast mode, Lico, beast mode, Lico, beast mode. You guys send B-roll footage to your editor in the Philippines.
Did you say?
You
All right, we live. Who's here? Alpha, yo, what's up? Who made the song?
Cool.
Cyclops was good. All right, so we got Patrick again. And if you guys are familiar with Patrick, who's here is familiar with Patrick?
Been a man.
Been a while. We're gonna prep him for cloud infra role. We'll do the intros and stuff in a second. Let's give everyone a second. I can't do a backflip, but Patrick can.
It's been a long time. If I try doing a backflip, I'm
Hey,
not
Patrick, your notes are like loud as hell. I can tell you.
Oh, no.
I can tell when you're going through it because I think
No,
you're.
I'm just going through my notes before we go over
throw
this.
them out real quick. We're gonna give them a
Throw them
breakdown. Well, like don't reference them at all. You gotta go off the top. Bro, it's way too obvious when you're looking through your notes, like loud.
No, I do. Don't worry. When we actually start, you're still doing the introductions, right?
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah. So I do the introductions.
Good morning from Hungary. Sick. What's up, man? How you doing?
Cool. Christian.
Yeah, we're gonna do a breakdown. All right. Okay, I did a session with Patrick yesterday, and every time I asked him a question, I could just hear the notes. It's so loud. That video is gonna drop soon. That one was hilarious. All right, put those notes. Scroll. All right, okay, we're gonna start this up.
The God.
Patrick, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'll try my best. Okay.
All right. Hey everybody, so today I have my friend Patrick and he's interviewing for a cloud infrastructure role. And this is his first new grad job interview. He's done just one internship, and pretty much you only did one interview for one internship, and you got it, right? That's how it happened.
Yeah.
Nice. So he did one interview for a back end position internship. He ended up getting a job. We have a lot of videos with Patrick going from building up his resume, iterating on it multiple times, training him up for behaviorals, training him up for technicals. Now we're training him for this cloud infrastructure role. So I have a few questions here. Patrick, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Give the chat some background.
All right. So yeah, I'm a recent graduate from the University of Lethbridge in Alberta. I graduated with a Bachelor of Science and majoring in Computer Science and minoring in Philosophy. For the last 10 months, I've been working as a backend developer at the AER, which is the Alberta Energy Regulator. And during my tenure there for the last 10 months, what I did was that I basically helped with migrating a legacy system, a typical system, to a new microservice architecture, uh, Node.js microservice architecture. And what they had me doing there was mostly creating unit tests for the backend engine that they were using, and also doing end-to-end testing, like uh, starting from the UI to the backend. And now, after my tenure there, what I'm trying to do, what I want to do is continue after getting some real life experience with some real enterprise code and systems. I want to continue developing my skills, and I feel like Nutanix would be a good fix for that because of the projects that they work at Nutanix.
Cool. Could you just give a quick background to the chat what this company does and who you're interviewing at?
So the Alberta Energy Regulators, what they are is a quasi um, like governmental branch here in Alberta, institution here in Alberta. Basically, they work as the middleman between the Alberta government setting regulations and policies for enterprise, so oil companies and energy companies in Alberta. Make sure that they're
Sorry, I
following the
mean like
rules.
the company you're gonna interview for, the cloud company.
Oh, okay, yeah. So basically, this company that I'm interviewing is called Nutanix, and what it is that it's basically a company that provides cloud infrastructure for cloud infrastructure software for companies.
So could you repeat that? Your audio cut out for a sec.
Nutanix is a company that provides cloud infrastructure for companies, so they can run their own services on their. Um, sorry, yeah, cut out that last
Okay,
part.
so it's like a cloud company.
Yeah,
So
sorry.
why do you want to work here at Nutanix?
The reason why I want to work at Nutanix is again because I feel like after getting some real life enterprise experience at my internship working as a backend developer, I want to continue building the skills that I developed at the AER, and I feel like um, the space that Nutanix works in, the platforming, cloud computing, cloud platforming space, is a space that is going to be very important for the tech space for the next coming years. I feel like there's a lot of that you can learn in the cloud space, and also something that I'm really interested in is cybersecurity. And I feel like with companies and governments and institutions migrating more and more to cloud services, cloud security is going to be very important. And getting that type of experience, hands-on experience at Nutanix with cloud services is something that I would really look forward to.
Cool. Have you worked in any cloud services before?
Um, at the AER, what we did is that we did use our cloud services. What we were using was like Azure Microsoft services and tools. So like Azure SQL database, Azure web apps, Azure um, DevOps. So I have a little bit of familiarity with cloud tools.
Cool. So you mentioned you had some experience at the AER. What would be the project you're most proud of there?
The project that I'm most proud of was definitely the project that the AER sat me on, was the legacy migration project that I was working on. So as I mentioned before, it was the project where we are migrating a legacy TIPCO system to Node.js based microservice architecture. Um, and essentially, what they had me doing there were essentially variations of different tests. They started me off with a unit test when I was working on the replacement, typical replacement project. That's what we called it. And the reason why I'm proud of it is because it basically not only gave me real life enterprise experience, but it also helped deepen my knowledge when it comes to testing in real life environments. Because in, for example, a school setting, what you're used to is like doing simple like unit tests. And when you're testing unit tests in isolation, and you're not connected to like real time databases, it's really easy to like mock dependencies and predict outputs. But when you're working with a real life database, uh, things can, data is not constant and it can be dynamic and it can change from time to time. So having to really go through the source code and really understand what you're testing, what type of dependencies you're looking for, what type of inputs that you have to be using, what type of expected outputs you're expecting. Um, just really helped deepen my knowledge when it came to testing overall. So that's what I really liked about the project that I worked at the AER.
Okay, you mentioned that this was the first time you're working with real databases, real data, real a real system that's not just like a toy system. Could you
Yeah.
give me an example of a situation or something, like one specific thing you did and it was completely different than what you're used to at school?
Okay, so for example, at school, we never actually worked with any. We never had like any projects that replicated migrating a legacy system to, let's say, like a newer architecture. This this was like basically a learning curve for me because one of the kind of like learning curves that I had that I had to overcome when it came to this project was that it's not just about writing. It's not about just like writing when you're migrating the service. It's not just about writing new code in isolation. You really have to make sure that the new code that you're creating really behaves like the legacy system beforehand, which is tough because when you have to really understand the legacy system and then you have to go through the different section parts of the legacy system and understand the different dependencies, the different like hidden assumptions in the code and everything, and you have to really try to understand the legacy system so you can replicate the behavior in the new system correctly.
Okay, could you give an example of how you did that?
Okay, so for example, one thing that they made me do was end-to-end testing. So basically, what I would start at the UI of the application that we're working on, and then I would basically pick a interface that I was maybe like a tech lead would assign me, interface just like a function. So basically something like make sure that you can test this field box. When you enter the information, it stores the information properly, stores the data in the correct tables properly. So I'll do the end-to-end testing. And one thing that
Like you would go there and click through it to make sure it
yeah,
works?
exactly. So I'd like hop onto the application and I would go through like for example, if the website calls for an oil someone from an oil company to fill in an application, I would go through the application and I'd try to hit the right interfaces through the UI to see that they're being routed to the correct system. Um, and sometimes uh, when you would hit certain uh, when you would hit certain buttons, the service wouldn't be routed to the new Node.js system. It'd be routed to the typical legacy system. So this was kind of like a learning curve for me because I would have to try to figure out why exactly it's going to the legacy system and not going to the new Node.js engine. And that typically meant that I'd have to like step by step go through the workflow from like UI to API call to backend logic to the what's being stored in the database, checking tables through SQL, and then making sure that going through the SQL data,
Yeah,
making sure.
that makes sense. Like follow up here,
Okay, sir.
was it automated test or you were walking through, or you just manually wrote the test
This
or manually
this
did it?
I manually did these tests.
So how would you ensure that it was working for forever after, even after? Like, does someone have to keep manually testing it every time?
Um, the way that I would make sure that the code is routed to the Node.js engine, is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, like it sounds like a manual QA step, but suppose, so it wasn't like an automated integration test that would run every single time, maybe through a CI/CD pipeline?
Um, So they never had me do anything like that. I think I can recall like other like developers running scripts that like ran like automated tests. They never had me doing that. They are, and I think a big part of it was that the reason why they wanted me not to is that they wanted me to like really go through the documentation, go through like the source code, go through like the different testing files to really try to understand the engine that we were working on.
Okay. Oh, so just if I'm recalling this, you went onto the application,
Hmm.
you you just made sure that when you filled out the checkbox, it routed to the right backend,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And then that was a manual step, and then after that, you told them it works, and
Hmm.
then that's pretty, and then you just say you're done, like it works, and then
Hmm.
that's it.
Or if yeah, and if there was ever a time where I had to uh like and there could be a different like there could be a combination of different like problems that could arise
Hmm.
when you're trying to like check the routing because it could be you check if it's configured properly or sorry you're checking you could sorry I'm getting a little lost here. Basically, you're checking whether it's getting routed to the typical to the legacy system or the new engine, and um, sometimes like there could be different issues. Like for example, like maybe there is maybe there's like a database like a flag configuration that's been set wrong. So
Hmm.
maybe the configuration is set that the route goes to the legacy system versus the new engine. So you would have to like manually switch the flag over, but then also um, if you've switched the flag over, you could still catch, for example, like bugs. For example, I know that the flag configuration is routed to the new engine. I know that the cache has been refreshed, so any like services that have been like switched or configured are like configured to the correct setting. And then you try to go through the UI, you might like run into actual like errors and bugs like 500 HTTP request errors that I would have to report as bugs to senior developers so they could look into and check out why exactly uh, that service isn't working or
Okay,
giving the right response.
sounds good. So like, what code did you write at this internship?
So mostly the code that I wrote was the unit tests. The unit tests for the backend engine that they were working on in the replacement project. So I went through about 40 or 50 files over the course of my internship, creating unit tests for each one of those different files.
Cool. What was sort of your process for creating these unit tests? And yeah, just explain some blockers or some difficult things you ran into.
Okay, yeah, for sure. So one of the so basically the process was that I would get a ticket from one of my scrum lead or one of my tech leads, and basically they would ask me to check a source file, go into the source file, check out the different like modules in the source file, and make sure that um, I any because we're in Node.js, any like export functions, I would write unit tests for these uh, export functions. And basically, what I'd have to do is just look at the like the source file that I'm looking at. For example, there might be a source file that basically converts timestamps to whatever local time zone you're in.
Hmm.
So what I would have to do is that I would have to look at that source code for that timestamp file, understand how exactly it works, what, for example, like what time zones it's getting converted to, and then I would have to start creating my unit tests, mocking dependencies to just create my unit tests to see if I'm getting the when I put in certain inputs, I get the correct expected values, and then once I go through like the obvious inputs that I'm looking for, start going through like different edge cases, and that was basically kind of like my process for creating unit tests for uh,
Okay.
a file.
Okay. Just could you tell me about a time when you had too much things on your plate, but and then how do you juggle that?
Um, Time that I had too much things on my plate. Give me a
Maybe
second
you had
here.
more things on your plate than you could actually achieve in that specific time frame. How did you juggle that and still drive good outcomes?
Oh, okay, yeah. So definitely at the beginning of my internship when I was first tasked to start with these unit tests. Um, when I first was tasked to creating these unit tests, definitely going through um, the different source files and understanding all the like the business logic and everything that's going on in the files to make sure that I make the correct tests for these different files was time consuming. But once I kind of got a flow going with creating the unit test, one thing that really helped me was that I would at the AR we weren't allowed to use ChatGPT because they were very worried about user info, like sensitive info getting leaked. But we had our in-house Copilot AI that we were allowed to use, and I basically would have like a schema that I would put through Copilot when making the unit test to basically set up kind of like a boilerplate code for my unit test is to get like the quick like syntax structure down. And I basically just used like the AI to help streamline the process at the beginning of my venture at the AR after I kind of like got my groove on.
I see. So, how did you figure out what to work on?
How did I figure out what to work on in what sense? Like what functions to create, like what unit tests to create for which functions?
Yeah,
or
like day to day, how did you figure out what you're gonna work on? How did you plan your work, and then how did you execute on your work?
so essentially, what I would do is that I would just hop onto the Azure DevOps board and I would just look at the different tickets that we had waiting. Um, and there were like hundreds of files that we had in the backend engine that we could pick and choose from. And I basically would just at the very beginning, I would start with the easier, the files that I feel like would have been like easier things that return simple objects and so like the timestamp file that I was telling you about. But eventually, once I kind of got uh, got my workflow down and got a little bit more comfortable writing the unit tests, I would look for the little bit more difficult or a little bit more complex files to create unit tests for, like files that would require like caches, which when you're trying to create unit tests for a cache, it's a little bit more complex. And yeah, essentially that's what I would do from day to day at the beginning when I was assigned to creating the unit test. I would just go through the board, select the unit, the file that was on the task, finish up the task, get my put in a PR review or a push review, and once the dev gave me the thumbs up, just pushed it to the main branch, the main code, and that's basically kind of how I conducted going through my unit tests at the beginning of my AER venture.
I see. So when it comes to your whole internship, what was the biggest achievement that you had there? Was it like some
Um,
project that you shipped? Was it, yeah, something went live?
um, Sorry, what was the question again? What was the
Yeah, what's your biggest achievement there at the in your internship? Like by the end of it, did something go live? Did you ship something or yeah,
mm, my biggest achievement at the AER? Um, give me a second to think about this.
mods in the building?
Hmm. My biggest achievement at the AER was that I got to actually work on real like databases and enterprise production and yeah, that's I can't really think of one best achievement. I can't think of one.
Yeah. Cool. Let's just get into I want to ask you some technical questions. We're going to start with related to some of the work. So, could you just describe the difference between unit tests and integration tests?
So unit test is just testing a function in isolation. So for example, if you had an add function adding two numbers, unit test would be make sure that you're getting the correct. If you put in the correct inputs, you would get the correct behavior. So if your inputs were 5 plus 2, you would expect a return of some 7. So you're just testing these in isolation. Integration test is when you actually test the different parts of a system together. So, for example, like you're testing the front end with like the controller, the view, the model. You have different layers all working at the same time and making sure that they, yeah, will operate correctly. They work correctly together.
Okay, suppose I give you this API endpoint. It takes, let's just say it's a post endpoint,
Hmm.
and it posts to do items.
Okay.
How would you write unit test and integration test for it? So what it does is you post a to do,
Uh, to do. Okay.
and it should save a to do to the database. The to do will just have basic stuff like name, description.
Okay. Name, description.
So how would you write unit tests for this?
Yeah. So, this one, if you wanted to just do a unit test, this one would be simple. You would just create a function that you would create a so the to do list. Sorry, what was on the object when you create
It's
the to
it's
do
on
object?
the open up the whiteboard, you'll see it there.
Okay.
And scroll down a bit. You're gonna have a because you're working with REST APIs, right? So this is in REST format. You're
Yeah.
doing a post on a to do. It's gonna create this
Post
to do object.
name
Probably
description.
return it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
We're
Okay.
gonna we want to return the to do that was saved, and the body is gonna be a simple.
Name and description.
So
Two
how would I
strings.
write unit tests or integration tests, and which ones would I do?
Yeah, so a unit test would be really simple. All you would do is like you just create a function that returns like let's say like a name and description. So I would create a yeah, you just create a unit test that returns the name and description of the yeah, sorry. Yeah, so for the unit test, all we're doing is returning a name and description. So we could put like uh the name, mop floor, description, use mop. And we have to return those two strings to make sure uh, that's working correctly. And then an integration test would be a little bit more complex. Basically, we would an integration test would be to see if everything is working together. Um, so like the front end, the back end, all the different parts of the back end are working together, and nothing's breaking. So we would track the flow, like once the request is sent to do the add the new to-do list item. Um, yeah, we would just like make sure we would basically would have to like write tests to make sure that we see that the REST API, the REST API is the REST API is sending the request to the backend. The backend is uh, uh, talking to the database. The database is saving the correct data, and then the backend is returning the correct updated data to the front end.
Or could you repeat that? You said you're rambling for a little bit. Like just make it more concise again. What did you
Okay,
say? I got lost.
Caesar, no.
Yo, don't look at the chat right now. Don't look at the
Sorry,
chat.
sorry, sorry. Um,
Like make
Okay,
sure.
yeah. So integration test is more complex because we're trying to see that different layers of the app are working together and not breaking when they're working with each other, which is different than unit test, which is just working in isolation. So what we're doing is that we're triggering something through the UI. We're making sure that the REST it's hitting the REST API. The REST API is sending the request to the backend. The backend is communicating with the database. The database is updating itself properly and
Yeah, that makes sense, like in theory, but like more specifically, what would you do? You have this post to do. Just explain in a few sentences what unit tests you would write, and then what integration tests you would write at a high level.
for the unit test, what I said, it would just be a function that returns the two string objects, and then
Function that
for
returns the two string objects. Okay.
the name and the description, and then the integration test would be at a high level. I would have to write uh, tests. Um, I'm blanking. Some writing tests for the backend, basically.
Yeah.
Blanking.
Yeah. So what would that test do, and what would you test for specifically?
Um, you would test them. You would make sure that the test, like one thing that you test, is make sure that the REST API request is actually hitting the backend, like hitting the controller. You would make sure like these are different layers of the backend, and then the controller is um, uh, communicating with the database.
Uh, all right.
I gotta work on that. I gotta work
Okay.
on that.
Yeah.
I gotta work on that.
You
I
should
gotta
be
work on
able
that.
to. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I gotta work on that.
So let's just get into some of the cloud fundamentals. Can you explain to me what cloud computing is?
Yeah, cloud computing is basically um, oh my goodness, cloud computing.
Yo, Caesar, thanks for $2.
uh, cloud computing is basically somebody else uh, hosting. Oh my goodness, man! What? Oh my goodness! 1 second. 1 second. Give me 1 second.
Bruh, get
Okay,
those
I
notes
don't
out
want
of
to look at.
here.
I'm not looking at it. I'm
No.
not gonna look at the notes. I'm not gonna look at the notes. Oh my god! I just had it. Cloud computing. Cloud computing is just basically somebody else. They're hosting a bunch of servers and infrastructure, and they're hosting some servers, and you're running your applications on their servers, and you're not doing it on your own servers, your own physical servers.
What are the other options besides
Oh my god, I can't believe that.
what's the other options besides cloud computing?
So there's cloud computing, and then there's on-prem computing, and then there's also like you can have your own like local personal device.
Hmm.
And then on-prem is basically like you can imagine like you're a company, you have your like a section of your building that has its own servers. It's like its own facility that hosts like your network and everything. And then um, yeah, it's just basically your own facility with your own physical infrastructure. And then cloud computing would be like Amazon has their own building that has like their own like servers, and they let me connect to those servers, and I don't have to like have my own building full of servers to do it.
Okay, what's the trade-offs, or what's the pros and cons
Um,
of going cloud or just on-prem?
so the pros and cons is that with the cloud computing, it's way more easier to scale. It's like um, way less upfront costs. You can deploy and host multiple different like virtual machines and containers really easily. Um, you have a bunch of infrastructure provided for you, like networking and storage. You have all these like different components of the infrastructure already provided for you.
Mm-hmm. Oh no,
I
look at
guess
your
I go.
notes, because as an interviewer, okay, okay, because
I'm
just
not, I'm
say
not, I'm
look
not.
at the camera then.
Okay, 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 okay.
Because like if I
Shit,
was
maybe.
interviewing you for real, then you're like looking to the side. It looks like you're
Mm,
looking off your notes.
mm. And then I guess a con would be like a couple cons is that even though the upfront cost is low, the long term costs can be high because there's things like vendor lock in where you get like because your infrastructure is all based on this cloud that's not yours. You get like dependent on them. Also, if like there something happens to their servers, they go down, then there's nothing you can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the on-prem would be basically the exact opposite. Like you have it's a high upfront cost. You have your own infrastructure, and you're responsible for you basically are responsible for everything, but you have more control over the infrastructure. Like you're the one who gets to choose what type of tech you're using for it, what type of networks or storage capacities you're using for it, and but you also have to have responsibility for it. So if it breaks down, you are the one that has to hire people to like fix it. If like your servers are overloading, you have to be the one that figures out how to fix that problem.
Okay. Can you describe the difference between infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service?
Okay, so infrastructure as a service is when they're literally providing you infrastructure. Like a company is providing you infrastructure, like um, Amazon's like AWS or Microsoft Azure. They provide you things like servers. So it's basically like an analogy would be like imagine like you go and you rent out a kitchen from a restaurant, but the kitchen doesn't have any appliances in it. You just have like stovetop. You just have like the bare minimum. Platform as a service is essentially um, you have an app, and they give the service provider like Amazon or Microsoft. They give you everything you need to host and deploy that app. So it'd be like having renting out the kitchen, but you also have like cooks in there waiting for you, and you just bring your ingredients, and then the cooks will help you cook up whatever you're cooking. And then software as a service is basically like the software that you're using on the internet. So like Gmail.
Okay. So, all right. What is a container?
A container is a package that contains an application with all the dependencies that it needs to work across different environments.
Why is it needed?
Uh, need depend. Why does it need what?
Why did somebody create containers?
Um, the reason why people create containers is that it just provides like a really fast way to uh, use and test your application across different environments. So, for example, when you're testing like your application, you have different environments like UAT, your TST, production, dev environment, and the container helps making sure that your application runs across these different environments, so then you could assure like proper testing.
Okay. What's Docker?
Docker is a tool to help create containers.
Okay. What's the difference between a virtual machine and a container?
A virtual machine basically is a virtual machine is like a software based computer in a physical computer. but it runs on its own OS system. It's like or its own OS. So they're a little bit more heavyweight than containers, because containers, they run on shared OS kernels. So um, essentially, the difference between the two, the virtual machines and the OS and the containers, is that um, although the containers are a little bit more lightweight and deployable, easier to deploy and scale, because they share the OS kernel. If something goes wrong with one of the containers, it's possible that the other containers, that something goes wrong with the other containers as well. Whereas with the virtual machines, because they all have their own self-contained OS systems, they're if one fails, then that's doesn't mean that other virtual machines are going to fail.
Okay. What is Kubernetes?
Kubernetes is basically a tool, like a system that helps you deploy your containers at scale.
Okay, why would you need something like that?
Because once you start having to manage a bunch of containers, it can start getting really complex. And you know what I mentioned before, like if one of the containers fail, then other containers might fail. Using Kubernetes, this like system helps manage all that for you, so it becomes a little bit easier to like debug issues, figure out problems, to yeah, deploy the same container across different environments easier. It's basically a tool that helps you deploy the containers.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, we're gonna spend the next 10 to 15 minutes on a very simple system design question. We're gonna suppose we have a simple to do app,
Okay.
right? We have a simple to do app, right?
Okay.
This app is a Node.js app. You mentioned you worked on Node.js before,
Mm-hmm.
and it has a MySQL DB.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, it's just running locally on my machine. I want to put this up on the internet and have
Mm-hmm.
everyone using it, anyone on the internet to have access to it. Right now, it's on my local machine, and I
Mm-hmm.
want to put it on the internet.
Okay. So you have a Node.js application. Um, yeah, I guess I got it. I should be using the whiteboard, right?
Yep, use your whiteboard, please.
So we have a node. Can you see that? To do
Where?
app.
Oh, I don't see it. Oh, you're right here. Oh, I'm writing right under, so just right under where I am.
Oh, okay. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Put the things on the internet right now. It's local. Okay, so right now it's on my computer. On my computer. The first thing that I want to do is upload the code to a GitHub repository. To GitHub. And then what I'm going to do is that after I upload it to GitHub, I'm going to go Node.js, MySQL. Okay, so we're using like MySQL. So I would go to like Microsoft, and let's say I would rent out a virtual machine from like an Azure virtual machine from Microsoft.
Okay. And what are you doing with this virtual machine?
Uh, what am I doing with this virtual machine?
Yeah.
Wait, 1 second. Let me think about this. You're saying not like just put it on the internet, not on the cloud?
Yeah, put it on the cloud basically. Same
Okay,
thing,
put it on
putting
the
on the
cloud.
internet. You
Okay.
just want to I'm just wondering what this virtual machine is going to why are you renting it? Just asking a follow-up. Could you just tell me why you're renting it? Kind of just a couple sentence explanation why it's needed.
The virtual machine is needed. Hmm. Uh, what? Okay. Well, sorry. I just blanked out there. Why do I need? Why do I need to run this virtual machine? Why do I got to do it? I don't know. To put it onto the internet? I don't think because there were you don't need a virtual machine to do that before to actually put it on the internet. But
Like in your system design, what is this virtual where is this virtual machine going to sit and what is it going to do? What's the function of it in this whole system that you're building? Okay, let's just go on to step 4 and then see. Just continue going through it and then we'll try to circle back.
okay, okay. Oh my god, now I got lost. Okay, so the way that I remember is like that, install dependencies. Okay, this is just like a high level. This is a high level overview. Install dependencies, run app on virtual machine, change network
So
configurations.
you just said literally just said there you're running the app on the virtual machine.
Yes, because right now I'm just writing down what I remember, but I will work through this in a second here. Change environmental variables, and then
Yeah,
okay.
if you just like write it down without and don't have a reason to explain it, it
Yeah,
just
yeah,
seems
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
you're cheating or like
Yeah.
auto
So
just trying to take a
I'm
piss.
just writing I'm just writing this down for from memory, and I'm
Okay.
gonna try to break it down, basically. Try to work through why we do the things that we are doing. Honestly, I feel like I could honestly remove step 3 and step uh, 5 because I don't know why I would need the virtual machines. But um, um, no, what you call it? I'm blanking.
Yeah, just go through all the steps. We have this Node.js API. It hits on MySQL DB locally. We're just running MySQL locally, so your app can run locally as well through the terminal and just talk into the MySQL DB. We just want to put it up on the internet so other people can use this to do app and not just you.
Yeah, okay. Let's restart this. on my computer. Then what you do is that if it's like a Node.js app, you'd like need to install proper dependencies, I think. And then you would need to do something something with ports. Need to set up the ports. Need to.
Or let's talk about how we're gonna host it on the cloud or on the internet. You're saying on my computer.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just draw out one thing real quick, and I just want
Yeah.
you to explain it. So
Okay.
we have this person. He's using your to do app on his phone.
Yeah.
So let's say that we have a server. We'll call this the app server running your to do list.
Okay.
To do app. And then separately we have a database. We have a database. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So can you walk me through the request to response flow? Suppose somebody just goes and they just want to get all of their to-dos.
Okay. So
Walk me through from the client perspective to the server to the database and back. What are all the steps that happen in between?
okay. So you would say that like you're on your app, and depends like if you. I guess it depends if you access it through the app or through like the internet, like through your like a URL. But basically, uh, once you open the app, um, so for example, okay, so if for example, if we were going through a URL, you would type in the URL in your phone, like your to do. You go to the app. The URL would have to. Oh wait. Okay, wait. I think I'm confusing two things. I think I'm confusing two things right now. So say you open up the app and then you go and do the get request. What ends up happening is that so you're triggering it through the UI, and the UI is sending the get request through the network, like through the internet, to the like REST API for the get, and then the REST API is gonna send the request to the backend. So most likely like the controller layer of the backend. And the controller is going to validate the request to make sure it's like the request like works if it's like they're allowed to do it. And then what it's going to do is that because it's a get request, it's going to send the request to. It's going
Wait,
to
so
request the
how does the client talk to the server?
the client talk to the server. So basically, the clients when they it's through the IP address. Is it not? It's through the IP address.
Through the IP address? Yeah, what's an IP address?
The IP address is basically just like the the address for your server, like where the server, like the back end to the end, like the back end to whatever application you're working, where they store all the business logic. Um, that's how that's the IP address.
Which it
It
again?
gives you
What's the IP address?
the IP address. It gives you the like location. It's like that. It basically connects you to the server where all the backend, the backend logic, the business logic is located on for the application that you're using.
Okay. So when somebody types in www.google.com, is that the IP address?
No, so that's just the URL. And basically, what will happen is that the URL will go through something called DNS, which is a data network search. I think
Okay,
that's what
don't
it
look at
calls
your
DNS.
notes.
So I'm not looking. I'm not looking. It's like DNS, data network search, something like that. And basically, it connects the URL, like the name google.com, to the correct IP address where Google actually exists.
Okay. So suppose I have the IP address of the server. What how do I actually connect to that? Like what protocol?
So there's something called the HTTP protocol,
Hmm.
and basically the HTTP protocols are different uh, requests. They have like get, put, patch, delete. I think there's one more, but yeah. So um,
Yeah. Okay, so if I have two IP addresses, right? My IP
mhm,
address and the IP address of the server. How do I
mhm.
actually send data from my IP address to the server's IP address? Like my device to the server. Like what's happening under
Uh,
the hood? You mentioned HTTP, that's the application level protocol. What are the
mhm.
other things happening under the hood?
um, Basically, the other things that are happening under the hood is that not only is there like an IP address, but there's also port numbers, and ports are the actual application on the server that you're going to be using. And um, basically, you're sending the request through like Wi Fi from your device through the UI to to the correct port
To
to
the
be using
through
the correct.
Wi-Fi, I'm sending it to the port of www.google.com.
Shit. It was like, let me explain that. I'm just thinking out loud, okay?
Okay.
Give me a sec. I'm just thinking out loud. Oh my god. Oh my god. Um, um,
Like
um,
your phone, right? It's connected to the Wi-Fi.
yeah,
What's actually
yeah,
happening? Suppose like you open up your Facebook,
yeah.
you're connected to your Wi-Fi. How does that data get to Facebook? Facebook looks at that data, figures out what you're asking for, and returns back some more data, which is your news feed.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Oh, there's like other. Okay. This is the. Is this like the data network communication kind of side of things? Like, well, we mentioned like it's like the physical layer, the data network layer, that transport layer. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, I just want to get an understanding of what you know about what's happening under the hood when like I'm talking to a server, what's happening?
Basically, you're like sending out packets of data. There's different layers that that data is like going through to make sure that it reaches your server in the right order and doesn't get corrupted.
Okay, what's the difference between TCP and UDP?
TCP and UDP. TCP and UDP. Frick, man. I just did a class on this not too long ago.
Did you
TCP and
take
UDP.
networks?
Yeah, I did. TCP and UDP. These are two different protocols. Or TCP, is it that you're setting the data in order and then UCP you're not? Like
Uh,
you're setting the data packets in order for one of the protocols and then you're setting the data packets out of order in the other one.
I think they would all travel out of order,
They
but
are all travel out of order.
sometimes it's reordered. But
Yeah.
I guess we're at pretty much at an hour now, so
Okay.
let's just wrap it up and talk about the feedback.
Okay.
How do you think you did in chat? Everyone, drop in the chat.
Oh my
Let me
god,
know
bro.
what you guys think. How did he do? What's your feedback?
Oh my god, bro.
How do you think you did, Pat?
Me personally, I think I went from a 4 out of 5 out of 10 to like a 6 out of 10.
So yesterday you were at a 4 out of 10, and today you're at a 6 out of 10.
Like a 5 or a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
I think I did way better on the behavioral questions. It's just the technical questions I need to tidy up now. So I feel like I did way better on the
Historical.
behavioral this time around, and I did a better job describing what I actually did this time around at the AR. It's just the technical questions I need to clean up on. So I'll give myself 2 points for the situation and the behavioral, and I'll bump myself up to a 6 out of 10.
Let's see.
4 out of
Yeah.
10. I tried my best. What do you think?
Uh,
What do you think?
Honestly, I think that you might have done better yesterday on the
Really?
interview. Yeah. The reason is because
Really?
the part that I care about, this is a software engineering role. I care about the technical part more. That
Okay.
has more weight. You should be able to answer the technical questions, and if you give like average behavioral answers and just completely destroy the technical part, that's going to give you way better results on your
Hmm.
interview.
Hmm.
Yeah. Chat saying you need to review his networking. I had the same feedback yesterday, but let's just go into some of the feedback. So I think you're telling me about yourself. It was a clear 60 second to 90-second intro. Kind of walked me through a little bit about you, what school you went to, and then also your internship that you currently worked at and what you were doing at that internship. So you said you were working at AER, you're migrating a legacy system and building out unit test and integration tests for it.
Hmm.
Then I asked you why you wanted to work on, or why you wanted to work at this cloud company. You said you just want to keep developing your skills. You like the cloud space and cloud security. That's pretty good. And then you said you worked on Azure. That's fine. Okay. And then we got into the project that you're most proud of. You talked about migrating a legacy system to Node.js,
Hmm.
and it was the first time you got real experience and you learned a lot because you're working on a real system.
Yeah.
And you said most of the work was on unit tests,
Yeah.
right? Most of the time. So I think my main
Hmm.
feedback related to this part is you were talking about automated tests, but then when you described the situation, it looked like more like it sounded more like manual QA. You were you said that you were doing testing, you're creating tests, But
Yeah.
then when you describe the situation, you're opening the app, clicking through it, and then looking at the database to see if it got written to. Usually, if you're going to talk about testing, you're going to, as a software engineer, you're mostly going to be expected to write unit tests, integration tests, and automated tests that run forever. And you don't have to keep manually writing or running the test because it's not scalable to have somebody like go through the test and then when you make a change they have to go through the test manually again. That makes sense.
Yeah, like the two tests that I were doing, like yeah, it was like the unit test, and then the other one, I guess it was more like end to end testing, not integration test.
Yeah, well, you can write automated tests at all levels. You can write automated end-to-end tests, automated
Hmm.
integration tests, automated unit tests.
Hmm.
Look at all the
Hmm.
companies I worked at. We would have
Yeah.
tests that literally open up the browser, click through it, and assert that some of the UI is working as expected. And on the
Hmm.
integration side, you could write tests that click through the front end. If the front end is written in React, you can use React testing library. It'll click through. It would mount the component, click through the different, click through the different buttons, and then like spy on the network calls to ensure that it's calling the right servers. Because you mentioned, oh, I
Hmm.
had to make sure it called the right server. That's one thing that you could create stubs and spies on. So you could have it load the app, click through the form, submit it, and then spy on what's happening. And you can write that as you can make that an automated test that once you write it once, it will always do it. And then you could also test like the control case and the test case. The control case would be hitting the old system, and then the other test would be like making sure it's hitting the new system. So you'll have those tests running in parallel and making sure that you didn't cause any regressions on the old system and the new system is working correctly. So that's one thing. Even if you didn't do it, that's one thing you should know and that you could maybe mention of what we could have done, and then maybe some reasons why you decided to not automate it as well. Does that make sense or no?
No, to be honest, that kind of went over my head.
Okay, let's talk about, yeah, basically you just need to audit. The job of a software engineer is to automate things. You don't want to manually QA. Usually we would hire like a QA person to manually QA,
Hmm.
right? So if you're talking about, if you're interviewing for engineering role, you want to talk about automations you built, code that that you wrote in order to automate certain things in the business, or like just software that you wrote. That's why I asked, what code did you write?
So, so if the only code that I wrote was the unit test, what would you say about that?
I think that's fine because that's your only experience. I would say in your next internship, maybe like push for not just writing the unit test, but maybe ask them, could I migrate one specific endpoint, and then have you look over it, and then you migrate the endpoint and write the unit test, and also look for ways to like write integration tests or end to end tests to automate that completely and not make it
Hmm.
manual. So that's just something for the future.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it just in general, just when you're talking about the testing, you're gonna want to talk about the automated test you wrote, not the manual QA, because then somebody will just ask you why didn't you automate it. I think for a bunch of the points you're rambling a bit, so you should talk about it in star format, talk about the situation, the task, what you
Hmm.
did, and then tie it back to the result. Like, oh, like it should always tie back to some result. Because a lot of your bullet points or a lot of the things that you've talked about, you just talked about what you did, but then I had
Hmm.
no, you need to tie it back to what actually was accomplished at the end. So was it
Hmm.
a successful launch? Was it like 100% coverage? Was it, yeah, like no bugs went out into production, etc., right?
Hmm.
So I think in general, when we were talking about your favorite project, we want to be able to talk about your favorite or your best achievement as at the company as well, not just what you did day to day or being able to go to work each day, right? So for example, if I
Mhm.
asked you what's your like in fighting, right? What's your favorite achievement? You would have said, "Oh, I went to this competition and we won first place." Like
Mhm.
instead of saying, "Oh, I trained every single day and met some cool people," which is also fine, but when we're trying to talk about, we're just trying to know what you accomplished because this is a highly competitive role too. Like multiple times, it's like it's gonna be very hard technically. So if I said, "What's your biggest achievement in school?" Right? What would you say there?
My biggest achievement in school.
Yeah. Or do you get what I mean by talking about your achievements versus just like what you
Yeah,
did day
yeah,
to
yeah,
day?
yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. I couldn't really think of anything at work. That's the thing.
Yeah, just okay, think of like maybe your biggest project, your biggest achievement. Maybe it could be a school project then, some school project that you actually had users on, or that you built for a company, or that you built and somebody used and it helped somebody out. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Otherwise, you're just gonna say, "Oh, I worked on this and that," and it's hard for me to verify. And then other candidates are coming with their biggest achievements, right? And then we have to
Hmm.
compare, oh, this person did this over here and this person did this over here. And that's how we compare. Like, suppose I'm trying to interview you for a role at UFC, right? Then I'm trying to see, oh, how good of a fighter is this guy? How many, like, who did he fight? Who did he beat? You know what I mean? Not, oh, this guy
Hmm.
trained here and trained there. You see the analogy there of how you would get compared against other candidates?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you want to do is when you're asked what is your biggest project, what is your biggest achievement, you want to be able to just show what you achieved and it has to par up against the other candidates and the achievement has to most of the time be on par or even better or fit the role better than the other candidates. Let's see. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Any questions or not?
No, that makes sense. Straightforward.
Let's
I don't have
see.
any achievements. That's the thing.
Yeah, I think it's just when you go through your internship, and maybe you probably do, you just have to think about it hard. But when you go through an internship, you should try to think of one, or by the time you get out of the internship, even in your career, this is one thing that's going to be important is you're going to want to think of, you're going to want to set some goals and just try to hit those goals too. Because every internship they're gonna ask you when you get to when you're interviewing to your next job, like what did you accomplish in that last internship, and then when you're trying to change jobs they're gonna ask you what did you accomplish in the last job, and usually you're gonna have to talk about what you did in your last job and what you accomplished, and that's gonna help you get the next one after that, right?
Hmm.
Cool. Let's talk about migration cost. Okay, then on the cloud fundamentals part, yo, John, what's up? Yeah, I think you did a lot better on the cloud. Or someone's asking, do you got a blog or advice on how to do well on the ship? I can talk about that after. But okay, John, bet I'll watch it. So your cloud fundamentals answers was better this time. You're talking about what cloud computing is, someone hosting servers and you not doing it on your own. I would say the main part is just make sure you have eye contact with the camera, like looking at. Usually, you don't want to look at the notes a lot.
Yeah.
You want to like look at the person. Otherwise, a lot of people are paranoid right now. If somebody's cheating, they're using ChatGPT on the side, so it's really
Hmm.
important that you're making eye contact and just coming up with answers without looking around, looking at your notes. Right? Try to keep eye contact like you're having a normal conversation. Yeah, just be able to describe on-prem versus cloud. I think you paused for a bit, so just iron that out. Like if I say what is cloud computing, you should be able to have that memorized.
Hmm.
the infrastructure as a service versus platform as a service versus software as a service. You had a good explanation on that this time and really good analogies. I thought that was pretty good. Like infrastructure as a service is like you just have a kitchen, you have the pan, you have the stove, but you have to build everything yourself. And in the platform as a service, you come to a kitchen with a recipe and they sort of serve it and build it for you.
Yeah.
And then software as a service, to just keep building on that analogy, would be just like you just have a menu and the menu has a preset menu of things that you can order, and then you just pick from that menu. But everything
Mhm.
else is abstracted from you. The kitchen, the server, everything. You just kind of talk to talk to the server about what you want, and then everything's abstracted. Yeah, I think so. The last part was deploying a local app. Let me think about this. Yeah, I think b- my feedback on here is just make sure you iron out or you understand how to deploy a local app. You understood
Mhm.
or you're able to list out the steps, but then you didn't understand why each step needed to be done. All and some of the steps were inaccurate. So I think you shouldn't just be able to say what needs to be done. You need to be able to explain why it's being done. So why do you need a virtual machine? Well, the virtual machine is your server.
Oh,
It's going to be running your Node.js app, right?
yeah. Oh my God, man.
Yeah.
I knew that too.
So understand all the
Fuck.
different steps and why. You don't just certain things you listed out, you're like, "Oh, we're going to need to have GitHub." Well, you don't really need to have GitHub. GitHub is just the version control system. You could just
Yeah.
like you could just SSH onto the server and just like write the code onto the server and then start the server.
Hmm.
But you could say, "Oh, we need GitHub, so we could just clone the repo and get it on
Yeah.
there." You mentioned that last time,
Yeah.
and it just allows easier version control between the two systems. So
Yeah.
from my computer, I could push it onto GitHub. From the server, it could easily clone the same code, and I don't have to SSH and easily get, or it's hard. It's easier for me to get the code onto the server. Just be able to list out all the different parts and explain why each part needs to be there.
Hmm.
And then also just make sure to brush up some more on the networking fundamentals. So understand what an IP address is. IP address, the simplest analogy is just it's like a postal code address.
Hmm.
So every device on the internet has a unique IP address. It's such at a high level. You could say everybody has their unique IP address. If I'm a
Hmm.
client and I need to talk to a server, we're gonna communicate to each other, and the way I can reach the server is I know its IP address, and the way I know its IP address is I look it up through a DNS. But the IP address, the best analogy for IP address is just like a net, or is just like a postal code. It's like a postal service.
Hmm.
Everyone has their own. Everyone has their own sort of unique postal code or postal address, and that's how we communicate with each other. And the DNS is more of like a phone book
Hmm.
where I'll be able to look somebody up and figure out their address and be able to send messages to them, right? That's the
Hmm.
simplest analogy to that. And the way that we communicate each other, the postal like a postal service is almost like the internet as well. It's not like I'm going to send my mail to you directly. Usually I'll send my mail to the local mail service. Then they'll send it to like the provincial mail service. Then that provincial mail service will send it to like whatever province you're living in. And then they'll maybe send it to the closest mailbox near you, and then you pick it up, right? There's multiple there's routers in the middle, and they're routing the traffic along the way, and you could think of that.
Yeah.
The best analogy is a postal service,
This is all
right?
coming back to me. Data networks and communications. It's
Yeah,
all coming
exactly. So
back.
just brush up on that a bit. So I think the most important part is just understanding the networking layer, which is IP addresses and how they talk to each other. maybe the transport layer, which is the TCP UDP, and how we basically, if I'm gonna send you a message, I usually chop it up into packets and send it over
Mm-hmm.
like some messages are big, so you're gonna chop it up into packets and send the packets, and then the packets basically through TCP are like reconstructed on your side, and then it's sent up to the application layer. The application layer is pretty much your Node.js service. Just those, just I would just understand the networking layer, the transport layer, and um the application layer.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have any questions for me on that?
Mm, no, no, I don't. Yeah, I
So
kind of. What?
kind of what?
No, I was gonna recap. I feel like I did better on like the behavioral and the situational, but yeah, on the technical, I feel like I flopped. Well, the second half of technical, when you asked me about the deployment thing, dude, man, I knew that the virtual machine was supposed to be a server, but then I started getting scared. For some reason, I was like, wait,
Because like in an
yeah,
interview, you're gonna say things, and then the person's gonna keep trying to figure out if you're gonna what if you know what you said. So everything you say, it can or and will be questioned. You mention a virtual machine, they'll be like, "Oh, what's a virtual
you
machine?"
can't. Everything you say can and be used against you in the court of law.
Yeah. Every I remember I was in some interviews and I talked about some timestamp on the server, and they're like, "Why is it? Well, why are you doing it on the server? What are the options for timestamp? Server side, client side. What are the trade offs?" Like they're literally digging into it. So
Oh,
everything you say, if you just say it, you're gonna have to be able to talk about it. You mentioned virtual machine, talk about it. You mentioned DNS, be able to talk about it. Everything. But yeah,
holy
you got this,
moly!
man.
Yeah, I'll try my best.
All
I'll
right.
try my best.
Yeah.
Yo, that was crazy.
And
Thanks.
yeah, and like when it comes to your project and stuff, maybe we can come up with example of like one project, a school project that you did, or just think of all the different things
What
that you
if I
did.
what if I mentioned mentioned my first school project that I did with like a group, and then I just talk about how that was awesome.
Yeah. Like I'll just say like what most interviews were thinking are going to be thinking is like if you talk about something you did in your first year, I'll be wondering why you didn't there isn't something
Yeah,
from your fourth year better, because over the years you should work on like harder and harder and harder and like cooler projects, right?
it's the nostalgia,
Yeah.
the nostalgia of of the project.
So yeah, maybe like first year or second year project I wouldn't really talk about. Maybe third year and fourth year, because those ones are more even. So maybe some
Hmm.
networking. I remember you built a cool game. Maybe something in your network class. Maybe something in your AI class.
Hmm.
But the thing is, they might be asking a lot about your projects because you did a 10-month internship. So it's a long internship. So they're gonna be asking what happened there and what came out of it. Because with a lot of internships, there's gonna be like one specific project, and then the goal for the internship is you finish this project, and then that's how you get a return. Or maybe they most companies will scope out a specific project for the intern, but sometimes this could also be like you just hop on and do the work as well, which was kind of your case. But then just you should also talk about like the work that you did and some of the outcomes. Oh, we migrated like 80% of the the REST API with no downtime on production.
Hmm.
Or we we wrote we improved the test coverage from 40% to 80%. Just come up with stuff that happened there, or think back on what happened in your internship, and then be able to talk about those achievements instead of talking about the day to day. Because day to day, I should be able to figure out what you did day to day based on your achievements. So, for example, if I was talking about NovoCredit, I'll talk about how one of the big achievements was we took the company from just being a US based company to an international company. So we sort of internationalized the company. And then that's the achievement. And then I'll start talking about like all the different things we did in order to take this company from just a domestic company to an international company. Right? There's a lot of projects that went into it. So you want to set the stage of okay, this is what we achieved, and then start breaking it down. Because if you go the other way around, it's also harder for me to keep track, and it just seems like rambling. I don't know where you're getting to with your story.
Mm.
All right, man. Good luck, bro.
Yeah, man. Thanks for all the input.
Yeah.
Thanks for the
Glad to
feedback.
Okay.
Fingers crossed. We'll see how it
All right.
goes.
Okay. Catch you, man. Peace.
Peace out. Peace out, chat. Peace.
John, you want me to watch your? Okay, we're gonna watch John's. We're gonna react to John's bot. Do you have any advice to get better at using AI for coding, like agents? Oh, yeah, chat. Ask me anything. Let's run to ask me anything real quick. I'll answer all those questions. John's just looking for feedback quick.
Opening QCOM to test another semiconductor report for valuation consistency before making a call.
What is this? Is this the demo, John? So AI analyst analyzing QCOM.
I'm scanning QCOM's verdict and context before checking the valuation fields.
Bro, first off, why are you using like the ghetto AI voice? There's so many options for AI voices right now. There's like Open AI, there's 11 Labs. Nardo said the same thing I was thinking. Okay,
I'm
okay.
jumping to QCOM valuation to compare the card price with the chart's current marker. I'm jumping to QCOM financial analysis to test whether cash quality earns watching despite weak upside. I'm jumping to QCOM and
So what's happening here, John? There's this operator and it's like navigating your website. That's pretty cool. And it's talking about what it's doing. So it's navigating the website. It's saying what it's doing and reading the information.
investment risks to weigh handset, customer, and cycle risk against the cash flow. I am saving QCOM as watching because cash quality is strong but the upside and price data are not top 20 quality. Revenue growth. QCOM is strategically relevant, but growth is not elite. The report says diversification can offset handset cyclicality, yet growth trails higher excitement semiconductor peers. Margin expansion. Profitability is durable, not a sharp re-rating story. The report says the market is underwriting resilient quality rather than heroic margin expansion. Reinvestment efficiency. Cash generation is the standout. About 14. 4B operating cash flow. Modest 1. 46B capex. And roughly 12. 9B free cash flow. Risk and durability. Key risks are handset dependence. Internal silicon.
John, it's slow because it's running inference? I see. Yeah, we might have to reduce the latency because it keeps pausing. Like figure out ways for it to respond faster.
Customer shifts, licensing friction, heavy R&D, and competitive socket loss. Expectations gap. Upside is thin. 148.85 current price versus 150.05 expected value is only 0.8%. The chart also labels current at 100. Peer and industry context. Semiconductors context is mixed. QCOM is a valuation and pairwise leader, but a growth laggard versus stronger peers. Decision blockers. Watching because cash quality is real, but valuation upside is weak. Growth is not elite, and current price displays disagree. Upgrade trigger. Upgrade only if valuation offers a wider upside gap.
Yeah, what I'm thinking so far is the voice. It's hard for me to watch it or listen to it with the voice because it's the ghetto AI voice, and then the latency. It's a bit slow on the, but it's pretty sick though how you have the operator navigating the website and like clicking through the different steps. It's like your own cursor.
Diversification accelerates, and the price chart reconciles with the valuation card. Downgrade trigger. Drop to not top 20 if handset pressure, customer silicon, licensing friction, or the price data bug weakens confidence further.
Yeah, like being honest, John, the voice is throwing me off. It's hard for me to listen to it because it's hard. It's hard to understand what the voice is saying too. I don't know. Chat kind of had the similar thoughts.
I'm returning to dashboard to verify QCOM is recorded as watching.
Is it really expensive to just run the ChatGPT voice?
I'm
Like maybe for the free users they can have this voice, but for the premium you gotta run the good voice.
reading dashboard to confirm the saved QCOM status before feedback.
Is it the one? Is the AI scrolling or that was you?
I'm submitting QCOM bug feedback because the valuation chart and card disagree. QCOM report data quality bug from a live Codex portfolio turn. The valuation card says current
Yeah, John, pretty sick. I think the website
price displays
looks a lot nicer now. The website looks sick. I like the charts. The operator is cool. Yeah. Ain't no way. That's crazy, bro. YouTube is tripping out. I have the ads on the lowest setting. It's cap. No way, 3 ads back to back? Where's that? I'll have a look at that. I have the ads on the lowest setting. Yo, chat, somebody asked this. Do you have advice to get better at using AI for coding? Who asked this? I don't have time to do resume review. I gotta sleep. Tomorrow, maybe. On the weekend. Who asked this? Do you have any advice? Who who's having trouble with the AI agents right now for coding? Like what issues are you running into? Is it just not producing the right output or good output? Because I honestly haven't seen too many issues with the AIs. Maybe if you tell me what issue you're running into, I can give more targeted advice. Who asked this? Nardo, you asked what's the work-life balance at work? It's not bad, honestly. I have to work a little extra, probably a little bit more than 8 hours over the week, but it's not over 9 or not over 10. But I definitely have to put in my solid hours. Yeah, just understand. Yo, Paul, you have an interview with Snowflake? Crazy. Can you talk about how to make the AI agent or how to use the AI agent? Kevin, I'm on Human Review, it's called Human Platforms. Let's see what this person said. I would say if you want to get used to working with the AI, just start building stuff. Honestly, you have to learn by doing. You have to build stuff with the AI and then start to understand what it's good at, what it's not good at. Start with very simple apps and just keep increasing the complexity. You just have to learn by doing with these AI agents. You need to get a feel for how they operate, how they work. Pretty much what I would do is just always write it on plan mode. It's also a skill to learn how to review what the AI output and then how to provide context into the AI so that the AI can perform the right work. So you're gonna have this AI agent. The AI agent is tuned for like writing code. Most of the time, you're gonna use something like Claude Code, so it's pretty much running on a terminal. So it has access to run Bash commands. Okay, it has access to the CLI, a bunch of CLIs and stuff like that. So I would understand, like at a bare minimum, what the AI agent is, what it's doing. Then I would try to understand how to connect the AI into, like, how to enable the AI to access different parts of your system. Can you enable plugins? Can you enable CLI? Can you enable MCP? That usually just the agent is not going to perform that well until it has more context, not just code. It should have context to your database. If maybe like add some MCP into your database, figure out how to provide as much context as possible. That's a skill also. So being able to, like, context is king at the end of the day. You need to understand if a AI gives you bad output, why did it give you bad output? Maybe it didn't have the right context. Maybe you said the wrong thing or you said something too specific, right? That's the main thing is like you should just know the common commands for your AI agent. You need to know the just the common commands. You need to be able to learn how to provide it context. You need to understand context a little bit about context engineering. And then you just need to be able to verify the output. You need to be able to verify the plan. You need to know about ask mode, plan mode, and how to be able to verify the plan. And that's pretty much it at the end of the day. After that, you're good. Does that make sense? But you can take it step further. Once you learn how to use this AI agent, you can start automating things like put the agent on a daemon that starts doing other tasks for you. Maybe you can trigger the agent through like an command on Slack and then it goes does some work and responds. Or on Jira you say at the agent and it routes to your agent. You can create skills to do specific things, Claude MDs, all of that. Lead code 12345. Does that make sense? Honestly, the best video that I've seen on it is this guy. How to use Claude Code. He gives you a very good overview of how to use it. Can you talk about how to actually make the AI agents? What resources? So the best way is, honestly, the best way that you can learn is OpenClaw. Bro, check out OpenClaw and just clone the repo, turn on Claude Code, and just start asking it questions. How does this agent work? What's the agent loop? How do you specify the LLM provider? How does it talk to the LLM provider? And you'll learn a lot. Like, clone this repo and it asks all the questions that about how the agent works. This is the closest thing that you're gonna see to Claude Code. Where is the Claude Code repo live somewhere? I would say OpenClaw is the best way to learn. I've never looked at the Claude Code like leak yet, but I think the main thing is understand the coding agent, understand the tools that the coding agent has, understand the like the agentic loop, understand like how it actually communicates with OpenAI or Anthropic, whatever model that you choose. I would say just clone this repo and just ask questions, and then you'll learn how to make an agent from scratch. Leonardo, what I would say is to succeed in your internship, first off, do some preparation. Here, let me talk. Let me change this stream name because now I'm asking more general questions. Paul, that's hilarious. Yeah, some guys tweak out, Paul, can't lie. So somebody's asking how do they succeed at their internship? Their first day is tomorrow. It's mainly a C++ role. So my general advice to this, I'll give general advice on how to succeed in any internship, but by the end of the internship, the main goal is to ship something or accomplish something or like have something that you can put on your resume and talk about. So most of the time, if it's a it's a good company, they're gonna give you they thought about certain projects that is gonna only last a couple months or 3 months. Usually it's not gonna be a project that's mission critical, but still would be really nice for them to have and scope to 2 to 3 months and that an intern can pick up and accomplish within their 2 to 3 months. And what you're going to want to do is find that thing that you're going to build and make sure you build it within the time before you leave. You're going to take your project, make sure that you need first, you're going to try to understand what your project is and talk to your manager about that. And usually with a project, there's going to be P0s, P1s, P2s, and P3s. P0s is the core functionality that needs to ship in order for this to launch. P1s is nice to have, but some of the times they really want it. P2s is nice to have, but probably won't even get to it. And P3 is like maybe in a dream they'll have that shipped. But to really impress somebody in your internship, you're going to want to ship all of the core functionality and a lot of the P1s, which is nice to have, but probably want to have. And then maybe some of the P2s. So that's something you want to talk to your manager with and figure out, okay, these are the core functionalities. These are some of the things that if I implement, you'd be happy with, you'd be impressed with. And these are some things that we know we won't get to, but if we did, it would still be nice. And you kind of want to get the project to a state where you get it to a state where you hit all the core functionalities, you have a bunch of the nice to haves, and now you're just playing around with some other features that are more experimental. That makes sense? And let me think about it. You're gonna talk to your manager also and figure out what the tech stack is gonna be. Talk because you don't want to go into the internship and just have to figure out everything on the spot. It's very hard to learn on the fly and still be productive. A lot of the times on the internships that I did the most on, or I did the best in, I talked to my manager before I started, and I started to understand the tech stack a bit. Or are you working in Java? Then I started learning the language a little bit, and maybe do a pet project on Java. Or we're using this testing framework or this backend database, or we're using AWS. I play around with those systems a little bit just to get over the initial learning curve, because there's a learning curve there. I don't want to start the learning curve at the very bottom at the start of the internship, because some of those learning curves you're only going to get past it or only half past it by the end of the internship. Some of them are way harder to learn. So you want to get started on that a little bit before your internship. So for example, if your internship is in C++ and you've never done C++ before, you don't even understand the language, you don't even understand any of the syntax, it's going to be a big learning curve for you at the start of your internship. So I would try to get ahead on that as much as possible. You want to do some studying and understand just the core functionality. There's going to be a lot of things you learn on the fly, but ideally the things that you learn on the internship are more of the business, like the business specific stuff, the business context, the business logic, the team context, stuff that's more related to the company and not related to the language. That's the ideal case. So yeah, I would just study a little bit of that when I go in, make sure the project is scoped. I know the P0s, the P1s, P2s. I push to get the P0s and P1s done. And I talk to my manager and just figure out what is like an impressive set of P0s and P1s and P2s, right? What else? So they're worried about the web dev and cloud stuff, which is about 30% of the role. Yeah, so the best way to not be worried about that is just build up a pet project where you build a simple website and deploy it to the cloud. Maybe make a simple to-do list app locally and then deploy it to AWS. Maybe just deploy it to a simple EC2 instance, spin up a RDS and write the to-dos in the RDS, read from it, and be able to hit that EC2 instance from your local computer. Something very simple like that. You can even vibe code it and then just get the AI to really teach you about it and try to deeply understand it. And yeah, I guess during the internship, it's not like you need to know everything at once. There's going to be a ramp up phase. I would try to focus on breadth over depth and then just start focus it and start learning each component more and more, but you can discover things in layers. You don't need to you don't need to just dive super deep into every little thing you run into. Oh, you run into this specific testing framework, or they're using React testing library. I need to learn everything about React testing library. Then I go into the next, and then I see they're using AWS. I have to go deep into the AWS, or they're using like a specific API like Node.js. I have to learn everything about Node.js. No, you need to sort of just peel back just enough from each layer and just focus on learning breadth over depth, and then slowly you'll figure out parts of the system that you don't know much about, and then you keep running into. So suppose that you're being bottlenecked by your AWS, not knowing much about AWS because you only know the basics, what an EC2 and RDS instance is. Then start digging deeper into it. Why am I getting bottlenecked by this? Oh, I didn't know what IAM is. Or I didn't know about this other service. I don't know how to use the AWS CLI, and that's bottlenecking me because we rely on that heavily. So you're gonna want to you don't want to learn everything at once. You want to get a lay of the land. You want to see what you actually every job is different, and depending on what they ask you, you're gonna have to learn different things. So what I usually do is I just get in there and I start working on things, and I start trying to figure out what's bottlenecking me, and then I start to learn those systems. For example, one thing that kept bottlenecking me when I first started was writing front end tests using React testing library. I was not used to that at all. I was used to writing back end tests. I was used to like writing front ends, but when you're working on a production system, you need to write front end tests using React testing library before you ship it. Especially at the company I was working at, they wouldn't even let you ship the PR without writing some unit tests or React testing library test on it. So I really had to spend more time on that, and that unlocked me to move a lot faster because I was able to get the other stuff done. I noticed my weakness was on the React testing library. I studied the documentation. I wrote some simple testing library test, and then as I improved that, I found other parts were slowing me down. Maybe it was the way that I was like setting up and tearing down tests on the back end. Then I focused on that and improved that aspect and sped that up. So pretty much, yeah, this was back in 2020, Paul. So essentially what you want to do is you want to get in there, start doing stuff, figure out what's bottlenecking you, and then study that. So a lot of times some of the business context right now at my current job was bottlenecking me. So I had to spend a lot of time understanding the business context, looking up videos, talking to people who know more than me about the business context, and trying to understand that. And that unlocked me to have better conversations with people, have better product sense, have better product direction. And then now that unblocked me from having more agency and figuring out what I need to work on and executing and help improve my velocity. So there's different things that's gonna bottleneck you, and you just have to figure those out and then work on those. Does that make sense, Nardo? Look like Nardo dipped, so yeah, that's kind of my advice there. What is the best way to get referrals to companies? Honestly, the best way to get referrals to companies is usually from your you usually the best way is through other people you work at a company and make friends at that company, over time, those people will leave the company to work at other companies, and then those will be your best referrals. But I was at your position before when I first got in, or before I ever got my first job. So I would just message people on LinkedIn. I would connect with a bunch of people. I would go to networking events. It's harder when you're starting, so you really have to put yourself out there. You have to like go to networking events, meet people, maybe the people from your school. Look hard into what I would do sometimes is I would search up whatever school or I would look up whatever company I want to work for. Then I'd filter for who went to that who works at that company from my school. Since I went to a no name school, usually it's only a few people. Then I'd connect with them and message them. Oh, we went to the same school. Just wanted to reach out to you and thought it was cool that you're working there. You have time to chat. You really gotta put yourself out there. I messaged so many people, DM so much people on LinkedIn. A lot of them didn't even reply to me, but some did, and that's how I got some of my first referrals. And then you just gotta reach out into your network. My dad, he doesn't even work in like software engineering or anything like that. But then he just figured out there was somebody he went to school with way back, like in high school, who eventually got a job at Amazon, and I told him to reach out to them and they gave me a referral. I don't know if that referral actually got me the job, but or got me interview, but you just gotta really think hard about who's in your network, maybe people you worked with, people you went to school with. Go on LinkedIn and filter for school or company and then connect with them, reach out to them. But once you start working, especially if you work at a pretty good company, those people will leave that company to go work at other good companies, and then you're just going to have a lot of referrals. So it's important to, when you're working, like build relationships with the people you're working with, because also when they move to other companies, that could be your way in as well. Yeah, network at your internship, 100%. Yeah, network at your internship. It's all about networking, man. Like, go talk to people, be social, make some friends. Those friends are gonna go work at some other places. Maybe they'll ask you for a referral. Give them a referral, help them out. Maybe you'll get it back in return. I mean, we live in a world that's social. Humans are social. Can't expect to get anything done without talking to people and building connections. You're a first year electrical engineer. How can I lean into the software sector? Which skills should I focus on? Like, why are you taking electrical if you want to be software though? What do you mean? The work life balance is average. It's solid 9 to 5. Benefits is high compensation. Good prestige, good work. A lot of people are doing good work. Smart people. Yeah, benefits is great. Like 401k matching, full coverage insurance. So there's so many benefits that you get. Go on Levels FYI. Apparently, they give around $20,000 worth of benefits for each employee. Oh yeah, free breakfast, lunch, and dinner, snacks, coffee. I don't know. There's nothing. You get all that. Paul, not no more, man. Everybody has to grind these days. Even if you work at Google, you gotta grind. There's no way they're not grinding. Look at their stock. Is the meta PSC worse than Rippling, for example? Honestly, I would say it's just the same, man. It's just the same. I wouldn't say it's even just having gone through it now. It's not even as bad as people have to say. You definitely do have to talk about your accomplishments more. It's a massive company, so it's not like everyone just knows who's doing what. And when it's a smaller company, you know who's good and who's not, and it's easier to make a name for yourself. It's easier to show your impact because everyone's kind of working on high impact stuff. But I think the PSC is it's not as crazy. Yeah. He accepted the Citadel offer, and it's Loki. He told me not to tell the compensation though, but it's very, very, very high. It's insanely high. I'll just say it's like more than double what I make. I don't know. We'll talk to him one day. We're about to, yeah, he accepted that Citadel offer. We're about to party this weekend. He's helping my brother get into YC. I don't know. That's kind of the update. I'll get him on the chat. We'll see what he wants to talk about. He's a quant dev. I can't tell exactly. He actually didn't want me to tell, but it's crazy. And he's not even capping too. Like, bruh, I don't know. He has a few years of experience. Jane Street new grad comp for returning interns was 700. That's wild. I don't know. We'll see how he likes the job, how long he survives at the job. He's gonna he's gonna talk about it. We'll see. He probably has to sign some NDAs and stuff. So what else is somebody asking? Any good project ideas? I think. Let me think about this. See what chat's saying. Dude, like 500 grand at those is like entry level. No way. That man's tripping out. Chat, what do we think about good project ideas? I would just say the best projects. So I would say I would look at it at a couple axes. I'm not going to tell you exact project to build, but I'll talk about it in terms of these axes. Technical, yeah, impact. Did I spell this wrong? Okay. That just looked off. Yeah, pretty much I'll just look at it. So the best projects have here, let me see. The best projects I've seen are very deep technically and have high impact. Like think of a product like Anthropic or OpenAI. That is very hard to do and has a lot of users. Impact is mostly like who's using it. Yeah, let's just say users. So technical depth and users. So if I build a project that's very deep technically with no users, that could be over here. But if I build a simple like to-do app, it has a lot of users, that could be down here like this, right? So you want to build projects that have a lot of technical depth and a lot of users. Is he trolling? H? Does that make sense? So think of the users part is honestly the hardest part these days because technical depth you could just AI generate it. But with users, you need to have a product. You need to have product thinking, product mind, because you need to figure out what problems people are actually gonna. What problems can you solve, and what like who's gonna use it. So you have to look for problems that you're facing, your friends are facing, maybe a company is facing, or your friend's business is facing. Build software for that because then you know you'll get users. And then usually if you're building for a company, there's gonna be some technical depth there because you're solving some business use case. It's gonna be a lot to it. Businesses are complex. You're gonna have to build a system that solves or optimizes their business. So that's what I would kind of do. I would first focus on this access, look for problems that need to be solved, maybe in your community, maybe in your own life, maybe in your friend's life, maybe that you saw online, and then try to build it out and try to get users on it. And as you're trying to get users on it, it should hopefully go up like this. As your users, bringing users on it, you have to keep building on features, and it keeps getting harder and harder and harder, and the technical depth increases with the users. That makes sense? That'll be my feedback there. Last question, I gotta go to sleep. No, I didn't get to do the today's div 4. Yeah, you can just Chris, you can just ask questions in the chat. But what to avoid if you want to grow at a faster pace than most? Let me think about it. What to avoid? Like what mistakes people make when they're trying to grow at a faster pace than most people? Probably burning out. They don't understand. They don't know their own limits, so they burn themselves out. You should understand your own limits and only work probably 5 to 10% harder than what your limit is, but do that over a consistent amount of time. And over time, you can build your tolerance to hard work, tolerance to working on hard problems, tolerance to working long hours, but you shouldn't just do it all at once. You should build it up. You should like think about an NBA player or an athlete. If they're training 50% harder than what their body can take, they're going to burn out and they're going to completely crash. But if they're pushing themselves 5 to 10% harder than what their body can take at the moment, over time their body develops and their body adjusts, and they can slowly continually push their pace, push their learning, push their depth, everything. But it has to be gradual. You have to progressively overload your mind, your body, everything like that. You can't just do it all at once. So what you should do is you should establish your baseline of what is hard and like what you could achieve right now based on your skills, based on your network, and then try to push a little harder than that, and then just make sure that you construct your environment around you so that you could continuously do that over a continuous period of time and not just short periods of time. You want to build your environment so that you can push yourself and work on these things that's going to help you grow, and cut out other things that are going to slow you down or it's going to impact your growth in a negative way. And you're going to want to do this consistently over time, and you're going to want to keep pushing yourself over time, but it's all about timing, like time in the market, and compounding, looking at things you're weak at and working on those. And yeah, just push yourself. A lot of the times, most of the time, people just don't even care. So if you care about something, that's already half the battle. And then from there, doing it consistently over time, you'll see a lot of people drop off. So yeah, I would say once you start working in the industry, even working in Silicon Valley, you realize that people really don't, not a lot of people actually even care. And you don't really have to work hard to outwork a lot of people. And you'll start to notice that fast, which is pretty interesting to me because I thought I'd come here, everyone would be working insanely hard, everyone would actually really care. But that's not the case. People care about other things. I don't know. I was watching a video. Some NBA player was talking about it. I think it was like Carmelo Anthony, maybe LeBron James. And they're just talking about how a lot of people in the NBA actually don't care about the NBA at all or even playing basketball. Maybe they're just good at it and they ended up in the NBA. They had some good, they're athletic and they got in there, and then that's it. Right? So if you really want to grow at a fast pace, I think the main thing is like care. Be curious about it. Make it a priority, right? And if you don't want to grow at a fast pace, that's fine, right? But it seems like you care about it. So, I mean, Jokic actually cares about it. He just looks nonchalant, but he actually cares about it. So what I would say is, yeah, like you care. Don't burn yourself out. Put in the effort. Try a little bit harder than what your baseline is, and just do that over a long period of time. All right, that's pretty much my advice. I'll do more resume reviews soon. I'm actually gonna hopefully I'm coming up with you could apply to here at jamesperalta.com/jobs. You should get routed to some very general positions. You should be able to click there and apply for those jobs, and I'll be able to give targeted feedback based on the role that you applied for. But thanks everyone for tuning in. I got work tomorrow, so I gotta sleep. I'll catch y'all in the next video. Paul, see you tomorrow. Good night.
Coffee stains and imitations, I am such a loner. San Francisco bases got me slowly taking over. I can't wait to show you that I'm gonna take it over. Lico, beast mode, 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 Lico, beast mode. This is not a main thing, really I'm a coder. Coffee stains and imitations, I am such a loner. San Francisco bases got me slowly taking over. I can't wait to show you that I'm gonna take it over.